Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Schematics video session 152. So basically in today's video, we will discuss about the new charts, which is circles and dots. And under circles and dots, we will discuss two charts. We will cover two charts at one go, which is, the donut chart and the scatter plot chart. Okay. So let's go to the Analytics Studio and we will deal with that same thing which we have been dealing till now. And maybe what I can do is I can duplicate the tab and cover the next portion over there. So here, what I will do is I will go for, so first of all, as you can check here, under circles and dots, you have four kind of charts, the donut, the scatter plot, the horizontal dot plot, and the vertical dot plot. Okay, these are the four charts, subcharts which are there under circles and dots. Okay, so this is something you need to remember. Now, if I go for circle dot, this is how it that appears. Okay, now directly if I go to formatting section, so conditional chart markers, trellis, tooltip, legend, all these are completely fine. Okay, which is fine. We can always check this out because this is something we walked through earlier as well. But we will directly jump to the donut chart, and you can see it's being shown as show the value as compact number. Okay, so of course if you go for none, nothing will come up, and it's the same just like the previous one. The main thing is completely over here. So let's say if I go for none, as you can see the center value. So if you don't want to show the value in center, you can go for none, or if you want to show, or if there's any custom text which you want to add. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to add something like donut shaped, just something like that. Okay, you can add anything over here. So it's something like donut shaped. Okay, so if you want to add that part, you can add it over here. Fine. And the center size, like you can make it as complete zero. Fine. As you can see, if you make it as complete zero, it's completely disappearing. If you make it as 10%, that's how it will come up. And if you make it as 20%, you can play around with this one because I've added one custom text. Okay, and make it as 40%, but you can play around. Okay, you can make it as 100% where that complete shape will be there. So if you see, it's like a complete circle right now. Okay, so that's what the beauty of this chart is. Like here, you can play around and you can make the way you want to. Okay, and for now I think I can make it as 80%. I guess that is looking better for me, or maybe I don't know, 70. Yeah, I think 70 looks fine for me. So this is more like a donut chart, as you can see, and the rest of the options are like we have already played around with such kind of options. That's completely fine. Okay, so donut shape, and I have made it as count of rows. Now, if I want to add any segments, okay, so these are the segment size. Now, what happens if I add any segments? So what I will do is I will just open one next again, and under the chart type I will go for this donut chart. And what I will do is I will quickly add the segment over here. Let's say I go for stage bucket as of now, and I will come to the formatting section. So under formatting section, this is how it is happening right now. If you see the segments when you add, it's basically showing you the open stage and close stage. Okay, so once again over here, maybe I can go for, I think the total is completely fine. Okay, and maybe I can go for something like 30%. Okay, this is how it's appearing. Fine. And yeah, you can play around. If you want to make it as like 0%, this is how it will appear. Okay, where it completely shows you a circle, and it shows you how much portion each one of them has taken up out of this two. Okay, you can play around a lot, and you can make it as per your convenience, however you want to do it. So this is more like of the donut chart. Okay, and that's more or less about this one. Fine, we can play around and we can cross check. If you want to go for industry, like if I go for industry, then it will basically just classify in this manner as well. So depending upon how much values you have, because if you have too many values, then it will become difficult to differentiate that out. Because if usually you shouldn't go for such kind of things like donut and all, for those kind of fields where there are too many values, because in that case it becomes very difficult to identify with the legends. Okay, so if it is like 5 or 6 values at max, okay, you can go for that. Otherwise, maybe maximum you can go for stages, or I guess. Okay, because stages is also quite a long list, I would say. Maybe maximum 5, I think, which will help the user, or the client, to differentiate it properly. Okay, that's the thing about this one. So I will just stick to that stage bucket only as of now. Okay, and maybe I can make it as 30%. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So yeah, this is more or less about the uh, donut chart. Okay, and maybe what I can do is this is something I showed you over here. So here also I can go for some custom value. Let me write over here donut. I think that's fine. Okay, And here I can always write donut chart, which is also fine. And I think I can cancel this former one. I will save the second one. Okay, that's the thing about this. So I will just formatting options on the donut chart. And I will save it in my recipe dataset. Okay, which is fine. Now what I will do is I will very quickly open the this one, and here I will again go for the second one. Let's explore the second one, which is the scatter plot. So I'm opening the scatter plot over here, and as you can see, this is how it's appearing. Okay, so I think if I remove one of them, I think I can't delete as well. So automatically it takes the x-axis and y-axis consideration. Now you can play and change it. For example, let's say I go for sum of amount over here. Okay, and maybe here I can go for average of amount. I think in that way it will make much more sense. Fine. So this is how it appears. Fine. And here you can now play around with the scatter plot, whatever you have, like maximum bubble ratio. Like if you want to make it tiny, you can make that one as well. Okay. So that's the way to play around. Okay, maybe I can keep it as 3%. I think that makes sense to me. Fine. So that's the maximum bubble ratio, and that is, basically it shows you. Basically, if you see, there are two graphs which are automatically being plotted. So whenever you select this, there's no criteria, but as you can see, you need to have minimum one on x-axis or minimum one on y-axis. If you don't select anything like any one dimension, like by default, it was taking the count of those in both the cases. Okay, fine. So that's the thing about this one. And of course, like you can play around with the access part. Like if you don't want to show the access, that will disappear. Okay. If you want to use the log scale, we can do that if you want to add the custom domain. Okay. So we can do that. For example, let's say I want it from 200. Okay. Maybe I can make it as 200. And I'm not giving the high value, but I wanted to start it from 200. Okay. Here also you can add the reference line. Okay. So for example, here I will add something like, uh, let's say I'm adding on. Now, similarly on the y-axis also you can add the reference line. So let's say add the reference line somewhere like, okay, so that's the beauty of this one, and other parts are actually almost like the same. Okay, so here of course you can add the sum of amount and the average of amount. Now what we can do is also we can explore the bubble size very quickly. So I will just go over here, or maybe I think I can just explode it over here itself. So let's say I add the bubble size. uh, on the bubble size, maybe I can add maximum amount, for example. Okay, so then again, this is how the bubble size looks like for the maximum amount. And let's say add the, or let it be as it is. What we can do is we can explore this separately. So I will just open this once again. And very quickly, I will go for this one, that is scatter plot. So as you can see here, like one difference you must have noticed, like here it basically says it requires 1 to 3 measures, at least one measure definitely requires. It requires one measure for the donor, which is fine. So here it requires 1 to 3 measures. Okay. So now what I will do is I will very quickly change this to sum of amount, and this one as average of amount, and maybe the bubble size I can name it as maximum of amount. Okay, and maybe the bubbles I can name something like, I don't know, minimum of amount maybe. Fine. So bubbles, a minute. Here I've named the bubble size as this one, and bubbles I can name it as, okay. Under bubbles, maybe I can choose certain sections. For example, let's say I choose stage bucket. Okay. So if I choose the stage bucket, this is how this is being shown. This is the stage bucket, and like this is the bubbles which is being shown up. Like what will be the bubble size? Okay, the bubble size, if like I'm choosing the maximum amount, so basically the maximum amount is being chosen over here, as you can see. Okay, it is actually somewhere showing around uh 20 million, right? 20 million 162, which is exactly over there. That's the bubble, and this bubble minimum size is about 8 million. Fine. So here actually it gives you, so basically you have two axes, okay, which is completely fine. But when you have like when you choose the x-axis, it basically shows you the sum of amount. When you choose the y-axis, showing the average of amount, and there will be another section. So if you don't choose this, that's also completely fine. Basically, it will show you this manner. Okay, the open stage and closed state. Okay, but basically, if you want to identify like what is the maximum, that part also you can do over here, where it will show you that part. So basically, depending upon the size of the bubble, you can actually know which one is the maximum, which one is the minimum. Okay, and here, of course, you can easily calculate by the axis, the sum and average. That is completely fine. Okay, so that's the beauty about this one, which is an amazing chart. Fine, the scatter plot. And yeah, that's it about this one. And maybe I can very quickly name the reference line over here as well, because I think here it makes much more sense. Bubble ratio, you can always cross check, like if I make it as 3%. So basically that difference will be there, like this will be on the higher side, the size will be more, this will be less, but depending upon how you want to show that, you can choose it. Okay, if I want to choose at 0.5 or maybe 5, okay, that's how it will show up. I think 4% here makes sense to me, which is completely fine. And of course, I can add very quickly the reference line as well. Fine. So here I will again add the reference line. And the y-axis also I will add the reference line. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm setting the label. I should add the values. So yeah, I think that makes sense. I can delete this one. So yeah, that's about this formatting options which are available for scatter plot. Okay, so very quickly I can write it as formatting options under scatter plot. So here I can mention scatter plot chart, and I can save it as formatting options under. You can save it in my recipe dataset here. Okay, so yeah, I think if we just finalize it once again, whatever things we have learned. So basically here, like we have under circles and dots, four kind of charts: donut, scatter plot, horizontal dot plot, and vertical dot plot. So one thing is for sure, you require at least one measure, and for scatter plot you require maybe one to two. I think we require two measures, okay, because we are not able to delete one of the measures in scatter plot. So that's the minimum requirement definitely over there. By default, it will show you the count of rows in both the x-axis and y-axis, and you can change for that, because otherwise the scatter plot won't make sense. Okay, but yeah, over here, like definitely the options which we encountered is, on the donut chart, you have this options of showing the measure title, so you can like skip it. Okay, and the other options, which is, the center value, how you want the center size to be. Okay, you can make it as a complete circle if you go for 0%. Okay, and you can make it a complete circle if you go for 100%. So if you go for 100%, it will be a complete circle. Okay, so it depends upon you how you want to go it. So I will just undo this one. And when it comes to scatter plot, as you must have seen, we have the x-axis, y-axis, and we can have the bubble size. For x-axis, I chose the sum, average, and by the bubble is denoting the maximum amount, and I went for the bubbles of stage bucket, where I'm able to differentiate between that. Okay, so if it's on the higher side, it's showing me the maximum. It's on the lower side. Basically, that part is also being portrayed over here, if you see. And yeah, other than that, there's not much. Like, it depends upon how you want to go for the bubblation, x-axis, y-axis, whatever things are there that we already walk through for earlier videos as well, and you can add the reference line. So yeah, that's it about this one. And in our next video, we will actually cover that in one session, both the part, that is horizontal dot plot and vertical dot plot. Yeah, let's meet very soon in our next video.